Hello friends and welcome to Obsidian Soft. Now we will be doing the blocks part of our multiple choice quiz app in which the user has to guess different landmarks around the world. So I will just go to the blocks section. For the first screen 1, the code is very simple. When button 1, that is the start quiz button, is clicked, we have to open the quiz screen. So I will just go to control and open another screen and choose quiz screen from here. So very simple code here. Now we will just go to the quiz screen and write down the main code. For adding the multiple choice feature to our app, we need 3 lists. One list will contain the image file names, very similar to what we did for our movie quiz app. The first 2 lists are exactly the same, an image file name list and the answer list. But there will be an extra list in this app and that will contain our multiple choices. Okay, so let me first use a global variable, initialize global variable, name it landmarks list. Initialize this landmark list to make a list. So go to list, make a list, add 3 items to it so that it has 3 slots, and I'm just going to go to text and get an empty text block, and within this, just like the movie quiz app, we have to write down the exact name of the image of our landmark picture. Okay, so if I go down, I will see that this is known as tajmahal.jpg. So I have to make sure that it is exactly the same as how the image has been uploaded into your media. Okay, so do it exactly the same as it is written here. Take your time, because if there is a mistake here, the image will not be loaded. Duplicate. Now name the second one. Third one. Take your time. Okay, so exactly the same as these images that have been uploaded into the media. Recheck it, duplicate this list, make it answer list. Now these are the actual answers, so make sure that you write them with spaces as the answer should look. Okay, and the third and final list is our answer choices list. So I'm just going to initialize a global variable again. This is our answer choices. Now this is something different. I'm going to make a list with 3 items, and each item will also be a list. Okay, so gain a list, make a list, 3 items. Basically, for each question, there will be 3 choices. Okay, so text block from here, and we can write down what could be the answers for a picture of Taj Mahal. So it could be Delhi Fort. Let's duplicate it. Duplicate it again. Make sure that there is one correct answer among those choices. So I'm just going to plug in Taj Mahal as the second choice, and then the third is a wrong choice. Okay, so just duplicate, and now let's give it some other choices. So the first one could be the correct answer, and the second one is the Great Pyramid, something related to swings, but the wrong answer. So each answer has 3 choices. One choice is correct and the other 2 are wrong. Okay, so let's add a variable, and that will be our question number, very similar to what we did for our movie quiz app. Make it 1. because obviously the first question will be shown first. Add 2 more variables for answer, make it an empty string, duplicate by right clicking, and this is a score, but score will be 0 in the beginning. Okay. Now when the screen is initialized, we want to show the first landmark on the list. So we need to capture the event when the screen is initialized. So go to quiz screen, and there's a block called when quiz screen.initialize. This event will be run when the screen comes on the app for the very first time, and it is run only once. So in this, we are going to set up our question. So because we will be setting up the question even when the next button is pressed, so it's better to do repetitive code inside a procedure. So I'm just going to go to procedures and make a procedure, and I'm going to call it setup question. Okay. Before constructing the code inside it, let's just make sure that we are calling it too. So go to procedures, call setup question inside quiz screen initialize, and inside setup question, what we're going to do is that we have to first set a result whenever a new question is shown to the question, that is what is the name of this landmark. Okay, so I'm just going to go to set result text, and text value is what is the name of this landmark. Okay, I'm going to make sure that all my checkboxes are unchecked in the very beginning. So I'm just going to go and set checkbox.checked to false. Again, duplicate, make sure that checkbox 2 is false, duplicate by right clicking, checkbox 3 is false. Okay, I have to also make sure that my submit button is visible, because I plan to hide my submit button once the user has chosen an answer. So this means that the user has only one chance to answer the question, and then he or she has to go to the next question by pressing the next button. So I will hide the submit button after every question, and I will make it visible when the new question is shown. Okay, so I'm just going to go to submit button and set its visible to true. So I can duplicate this logic block and make it true. Okay. The next thing is that I have to set up my landmark picture. So set landmark picture to not a particular image, but I'm going to get the image file name from the landmarks list depending upon what the question number is. So I am going to call from the list the select item from a list depending upon the index, and the index in this case will be the question number. And make sure that the list is actually the list that has the image file names. So I will just get a getter from here, from variables, a get block, and this will have our landmarks list. Duplicate, the index will have the question number, because remember, when the first question is shown, the question number is 1, but every time we go to the next question, we will make sure that our question number is incremented, that is 1 is added to it, so that the next question is shown. So what next? I have to set up my checkboxes with the different answer choices for this question number. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to set my checkbox dot text to. Now, the first thing is that we have to go to the answer choices for this question number. Okay, so we have to get the first answer choice for this question number's answer choices, and this will make more sense when I will do it in front of you. So I'm just going to plug in 1 here because this is the first answer choice. And in here, I'm going to make sure that it select the answer choices for the list, answer choices for this question number. I'm going to go to list, select the answer choices, so duplicate, and in this case now it's the answer choices list, and yeah, this will stay the same. So depending upon the question number, the list of answer choices will be given, and the first answer choice will be given to the first checkbox. And in the second checkbox, choose checkbox 2 here, and I make sure that the index is 2 so that the second answer choice from this list is provided to checkbox 2. So is the case with checkbox number 3, and make sure that the index is 3. Let's write some code when the user chooses the answer by checking one of these checkboxes and clicks on submit button. So we go to submit button and we get its click event, and inside it we have to compare the answer that has been selected by the user by the actual answer for that landmark by looking at our answers list, but only check if some answer has been provided by the user by checking one of the checkboxes. So if one of these checkboxes has been checked, our answer variable will have something in it, otherwise it will be empty. So we are going to just check if our answer variable, global variable, is not empty before checking and comparing the answer. So I'm going to go and get an if then else block, go to text and get the compare block, the compare texts block, and on one side I have the global answer, and I'm going to check whether it is not equal to an empty text. Once we know that there is something inside the answer, we are going to actually compare it. So I again need an if else block, and I can reuse this compare text by duplicating it, and here I'm going to check the global answer whether it's equal to my answer. So I can duplicate this block and make sure that instead of landmarks list, it has the answers list here. So this will have the answer for the question number that is being shown to the user at that time. Okay, so if it is equal, then this means that the answer is correct. So I'm going to set my result dot text to correct. And I am also going to increase my global variable score by 1. So I'm just going to get a set block and set my score to an addition of the previous score and 1. So just add a 1 to whatever the score was before and make it the new value of score. In the other situation, this means that these were not equal, as the answer was not correct. We can either duplicate it and just show wrong, or we can show what the correct answer was. So that would be a better thing to do. So for that, I'm just going to duplicate the set block, but instead of just text string, I'm going to get a join. Join is used for joining multiple strings or text values. So here I'm going to duplicate it, make it wrong. Correct answer is space, and here we are going to just join it with what the correct answer was. And what next? We have to make sure that irrespective of what the answer was, we are going to hide our submit button. So go to submit button and set its visible value to false from logic. And in the other situation, if there was nothing inside the answer, this means the user had pressed the submit button without checking any of those answer checkboxes. So in this case, we have to give a warning to the user. So how can we do that? We can do that by adding a notifier to our app. So let's just quickly go back to design and add a notifier from the user interface and drop it on the viewer. And I'm just going to go to the blocks, and because now I have a notifier is used for giving a message to the user. So I will just click on notifier and show an alert message in the case if there's nothing in the answer, that please choose an answer. And what next? Let's work on our checkboxes. For all checkboxes, we have to add the code that in the case they are checked, fill up the answer variable with the value of that checkbox and uncheck all the other checkboxes. Otherwise, we will make the answer variable empty. So for all checkboxes, what I'm going to do is that when checkbox is changed, I am going to first of all check whether it has been checked or unchecked. Okay, so I'm going to go to control, get the if then else block, and If the checkbox dot checked is true, then I'm going to set up the answer and uncheck all the other checkboxes, that is checkbox 2 and 3, and in the other situation I will just make the answer empty. So let's proceed with that. I'm going to go to logic, get the equal to block, go to checkbox 1, get its status, check whether it is true. If it is true, I'm going to go and make the other checkboxes unchecked, duplicate it and make it false, duplicate it and make it checkbox 3. And I have to set the global answer. Now this is important. The order is super important. So first uncheck all the checkboxes and then set up the answer. Okay. So I'm just going to go to variables, set the answer to whatever the checkbox 1 had in its text. Okay. And in the other situation, I'm just going to make it empty. So just let me duplicate it and make it for checkbox 2 to make sure that this is 1 and 3 and checkbox 2. Recheck it, duplicate it and make it for the checkbox number 3. So this is done for all 3 checkboxes. So do you think our code is complete now? No, it is not. We need to check somewhere that all the questions have been asked. We will do it inside our setup question procedure and add an if-else block. It will check whether all the questions have been shown, and if all the questions have been shown, it will show the score. And let's go to control and get the if-else block. And inside this if condition, I'm going to check whether my question number is less than or equal to the size of my questions list. So let's go to maths block and get this equal to block and choose less than equal to from here. And here we need to check for global question number. So I'm just going to duplicate it and put it here. And on the other side, I want to get the size of my questions list or my landmarks list. So I'm just going to go to lists, and you can see that we have a block called length of list, and we have to provide it which lists length you want. So here I'm going to get my landmarks list. Okay. So if my question number is less than or equal to the length of my landmarks list, then in that situation, I'm going to do all of this stuff, that is set up my question, and in the other situation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide everything except the score. So instead of making a new screen for my score, I'm going to just hide everything which was on my quiz screen and just make sure that the result is shown. Hide all the checkboxes. I'm also going to hide my next button. And I am going to show my score. So first of all, I'm going to make its size a bit bigger. So I'm just going to go to result and set the font size to 60. And I am going to set the results text to a join of 4 items. What are those? First is score colon space, and the second is a get, in which I will show the actual global score, and we are also going to show the total score that could have been achieved by the user. So I'm just going to add a slash here, so an empty block, and make it slash and then the length of my list. So that is the number of items that could have been inside my answers. Okay, so what next? Our next button code is very simple, that when next button is clicked, I am going to add a 1 to my question number, and I'm going to call my setup question procedure, Another thing that we can do is, as an extra feature, is that we can have some sound effects in our app. When the question is answered correctly, we can have a success sound, and in case the question is answered wrong, we can have some sort of a sad sound effect. So let's go to media and add 2 sound components. We have to upload some media for those sound effects. Wrong sound, and let's connect my actual sound components with those sound files. And going back to blocks, what I'm going to do is that when the submit button is pressed, I am going to play the correct sound component if the answer is correct, and in the case the answer is wrong, we are going to play the wrong sound. So this is it. We are done with this app. So I hope you understood this tutorial for making a multiple choice landmarks quiz app, and you can make it and change it, add some other kinds of images to make some other fun trivia app. If you haven't subscribed to my channel so far, kindly do so, and do share my video with your friends and family. So in the next class, I will teach you some other cool app in MIT App Inventor. Thank you for watching my video. Have a good day and goodbye.
My husband got me a membership to Simply Piano for my birthday, but I'm starting to think he has a hidden agenda.
So it's a state-of-the-art app. It listens to you play. It's got a huge library of songs. And what's this? Apparently, you can have multiple